Hey guys, this is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I wanted to share my thoughts about infidelity and how I felt about people who cheated on their spouses or their partners, male or female, married or single or dating. And I honestly don't think that people who cheat on their partners are inherently bad individuals. I've never thought that way. And it's not because I'm a cheater myself. I've never cheated on anybody that I've dated. I've had plenty of opportunities too. I can tell you stories for days. I have been in unhappy, unhealthy relationships, and I still didn't cheat on my partner because that's just not the way that I move. I would rather leave than cheat. That's just me, right? So anyway, I don't think you're a bad person if you cheat. And this is coming up for me because a couple weeks ago, I talked about TJ Holmes and why I thought he was cheating in his relationships. And I said that many people who are married for a long period of time, they cheat because they're bored. And it's not always the case. But if you're in a long-term relationship, you change throughout the course of that relationship. And if your relationship with yourself and your environment changes, then more than likely your relationship with your partner will change too. And sometimes people cheat on their partners to discover themselves and to figure out if they still want to be in that relationship because they've changed. And again, because they've changed, their perspectives on life has changed. And so their perspective on their relationship may have changed as well. So I don't think that you're a bad person if you cheat. That's too black and white for me, right? This is also coming up for me because I talked about Arion yesterday. And I wondered if I was too harsh in my criticisms of her behavior towards Melody, and I determined that I was not. But someone in the comment section was like, why are you trying to extend some grace to Arion when she didn't extend any to Melody? Perhaps you are sympathetic to her because you have cheated in the past. To which I replied that I prefer to see the humanity in people than to just, cast them aside and say, you made a mistake, so you're a bad person. So I've never cheated on a partner before. I've never cheated on a boyfriend. I just don't want to do that, right? But it doesn't mean that I don't have any empathy or sympathy for people who do cheat on their partners or who find the reason to cheat. It sounds crazy to say that. But again, I'm going to explain why I feel the way that I do. So suppose a married man is cheating on his wife, but he treats her very well. He dotes on her, cooks for her, takes care of the kids. He is a provider. He's supportive and loving. He's affectionate and nurturing. And the wife doesn't even know he's cheating. He's just, having some fun outside his relationship to manage his feelings or whatever he's doing, right? Or he has chemistry with somebody outside his wife, right? Versus a man who is not a cheater, but he's very abusive to his wife. He is emotionally abusive, financially abusive, sexually abusive even. And but he doesn't cheat in that way. So he feels like he can do what he wants to do to her because he doesn't cheat on her. And she shouldn't leave because he hasn't left her. Who would be considered the bad person? The guy cheating on his wife, even though he treats her really well and she doesn't know about it? Or the person who treats his wife like crap, even though he's not cheating and he's faithful to her in that regard? So that's a very extreme example. But this is one of the reasons why it's hard for me to say that somebody is inherently bad for cheating on their spouse, especially if they treat their spouse well. Okay? Now, people may say, well, if that's the way you feel about it, how come you didn't have any sympathy for Martell? So, in season 1 of Love and Marriage Huntsville, and I talked about this before, I said that I felt sorry for Martell in season 1 because when he looked at Melody, he looked like he was afraid of her. Right? And I know that a lot of men who feel like they can't assert themselves in their relationships, they go outside their relationships and they cheat on their spouses because their wives are very domineering. And so they try to find somebody that they can dominate. A lot of men do this. A lot. I have stories for days. Okay. So in season 1, we saw Melody, just working through the process of like this infidelity with Martell. And at the time, we didn't know that this had been going on for a while and they had reconciled and he was still messing with the girl. And this is why, in the beginning, I was like, wow, I do feel bad for Melody, but I was confused because Melody said they had a great marriage, right? So Martell was attentive to her. I mean, they had arguments and things like that. We find out in season 3. But Martell was attentive to her. He was good with the kids. Melody kept complimenting Martell. So I felt like, well, maybe there was a reason why he did it. Doesn't mean it was right that he did it, but maybe there was a reason why he did it that would not justify it, but I can understand why he did what he did. But then we go forward to season 2 and 3, and I see this man has a whole personality disorder. Even though Dr. Francis said he doesn't think Martell has a personality disorder, I don't agree. And I'm not a clinician or a therapist, but I do not agree. The way that Martell treated Melody was absolutely horrible. Horrible. He tried to destroy her after he cheated on her. And then I said, oh, this is not a good person, right? The cheating was what it was. And a lot of spouses cheat on their partners, male and female. And we found out later on that Melody stepped out of the relationship. She had a little fling after she left Martell because she felt like the marriage was over. But they were still legally married. And some people say that that means that she cheated, which I don't agree. I think that once Martell cheated and created a soul tie with somebody else, he broke the contract, period. So anyway, in season 1, I didn't think that Martell was a bad person. I thought he made a mistake. I thought that he was remorseful. He seemed to be apologetic, and when he would talk to Melody, he seemed to defer to her authority. He seemed like he was not in the background, but like Melody was a much more stronger, more confident, more assertive woman. And a lot of men, when they bite their tongue for too long and they cater to their wife's needs, if the wife is very demanding, a lot of them, they go behind their wives' backs and they cheat with women. Like I said, I have stories for days, okay? Stories for days. Because I've worked in different environments where there were men who had wives who would be considered ballbusters. And their wives were successful and beautiful and things like that. But the men would be cheating with the co-workers at the office. And I would be privy to this information. Not because I'm nosy. But I don't know. I always find out things that I shouldn't know. I think it's because people tell me their business. They feel like I'm a trustworthy person because I don't gossip in the office. I pretty much stay to myself. So a lot of people tell me their business. The men and the women do it. Anyway, so I'll get into that at another time. But yeah, I initially felt like Martell was probably lashing out at Melody because he felt like she was too strong and too assertive and too confident. And many men try to balance the scales by cheating behind the wife's back. That's what I felt like in season 1. Season 2 and 3 comes and it's like, okay, this dude is a whole monster to me. I felt like Martell was a horrible person who was basically domestically abusing his wife on TV. I was surprised the show still stayed on air because we were witnessing domestic violence on TV. Psychological abuse, emotional abuse. Like Martell was going in on Melody, okay, in season 2. And I was like, okay, this is a bad person. He is not a good person the way he's doing this. He is weaponizing Arion against his wife. He is psychologically hurting his wife. So he basically asks his wife to return to him only for him to continue his behavior and then go 10 toes down and try to justify his behavior by lying on his wife and saying his wife wasn't doing certain things. So Martell tried to make Melody look really bad to justify his behavior on top of allowing his mistress to disrespect his wife who was pregnant with their 4th child at the time. I said, I'm done with this dude. Like, this guy is trash. Not only is he trash, he may have a personality disorder. Dr. Francis may not agree, but I'm not going to change my mind about that at all. The way he treated his wife was insane to me. He acted like he wanted to destroy her, like just completely destroy her. I don't know what that is. Like, if that's not a personality disorder, what is that? Hurt feelings? Fear? Like, what would make somebody want to do something like that to their wife and the mother of their kids? To treat Melody the way that Martell did. Anyway, so yeah, at that point I said Martell is a bad person. Not just because he cheated, because Melody forgave him for that before, but because of the way he carried on after he was found out. And the fact that he was allowing somebody else to disrespect his wife. Now you're a bad person. I don't like you as a person now. It doesn't mean that I want bad things to happen to Martell and I want Martell to be hurt and suffering and broke. I don't want that either, because he still needs to help take care of the 4 kids he made with Melody, period. I don't think Melody should bear the brunt of that financial, emotional responsibility by herself. So I don't want Martell to be broken down, but I want him to pay for what he did, right? Okay. And I think he did to an extent. I think his regret about the situation is his karma, or part of his karma. So yeah, I don't think that if you cheat on your partner, you're automatically a bad person. And I don't need to be a cheater or a married woman to have empathy for somebody who may be a cheater or married, right? So I've never cheated on my partners and I've never been married. But I can't understand why people cheat. Doesn't mean that I agree with it. Just because you understand why somebody did something doesn't mean that you agree with what they're doing, right? And that is my stance on everything. Before I judge anybody, I try to seek understanding. That's just the way that I think. And that may not be good enough for some people. Some people are more extreme. Some people want Arion to suffer in perpetuity for what she did to Melody and how she basically played a role in destroying their marriage and being happy about it. I don't feel that way. I think that she should suffer until she learns her lesson. If she hasn't learned her lesson, then she should continue to suffer until she learns a lesson. But once the lesson is learned, I think that she should have the opportunity to redeem herself. But unfortunately, because it seems like she's a bird, she is still attacking Melody, from what I have been told from people in the audience, in the comment section. They've said that she's still talking about Melody. I don't know, because I try to avoid her commentary, her content, to the best of my ability. But if she's still doing that, then she still deserves to suffer, because she hasn't learned her lesson yet. But once you learn your lesson, I think that the suffering should stop, in my opinion, right? Once you know how it feels to, once you know you have made a mistake and you have repented for it, right? And you've shown that you have learned the error of your ways and you are helping others to not make the mistakes you've made, I think that it is fair to not continue to punish somebody after that, right? Otherwise, then it starts to eat you alive. Do I think Arion should pay for what she did? Yes. Do I think she should suffer forever for it? No. I think that once she learned her lesson, she should be allowed to move on with her life. But unfortunately, because she seems to be very bitter and low vibrational about the fact that Martell still didn't claim her after all this time, she's going to continue to attack Melody until she feels better about herself. So because she doesn't like where she is in her life right now, she's going to attack Melody for elevating and being the representative of everything she's not, or symbolizing everything that she's not. And so she's pretty much going to be receiving the same energy she's been putting out for the past couple of years. Like, many people would have forgiven Martell already if he had cheated and shown repentance, especially since people want to like Martell and people wanted Melody and Martell to stay married. A lot of women wanted Melody to forgive Martell. And if she had forgiven him and Martell would have changed his ways, this would have been forgotten. Not forgotten, but it would not have, been as jarring and catastrophic to the psyche of the audience. Okay, the divorce really had a negative impact on the audience because, again, and I have to talk about this too. I have to think about this myself. Like, were we heavily invested in the idea of the Holt's marriage more than we were invested in the quality of that relationship? Like, did we want Martell and Melody to win because of what they represented or because they seemed to be in love with each other? I think what's challenging for us is the fact that Martell and Melody have natural chemistry. And so we didn't want to see the beautiful couple with the amazing chemistry break up. If Martell and Melody had whack chemistry and they were like dry and whatever, then people wouldn't feel as if this was such a loss. But you have a beautiful young couple that was successful and had amazing chemistry. And I think that's what psychologically is affecting people more so than other famous couples that have broken up. So it's like Arion is public enemy number one in a sense because she really destroyed the ideal. People think that she destroyed the ideal, even though Martell is responsible for that for the most part. Arion represents like the anti-hero. She's like not the devil, but she is the physical embodiment of the thing that broke this fantasy apart. And that's one of the reasons why people have so much animosity to her, is because Martell and Melody were a beautiful couple. So it's like, how could you destroy something so valuable to not just the Holt family, but to the society as a collective? Like, we needed to see this couple succeed. We wanted them to succeed. And because of your shenanigans, it's not even just shenanigans. She doesn't even seem to be remorseful about the marriage ending. And people wanted Martell and Melody to stay married because the marriage in and of itself was valuable. In a sense that you had a nuclear family that was building generational wealth and a legacy. And someone from the outside comes in, and not only do they help to destroy that, but they're happy to destroy that. They were happy to snatch the future away from 4 young children, right? They were happy to snatch the legacy away from 4 children who could have inherited their parents' businesses and created generational wealth for the Black community, which we desperately need. So Arion represents, or she's the embodiment of, like, not white supremacy, but the dysfunction that we have in our communities that makes it difficult for us to climb up to success and like prosperity and peace. And so she's happy that she did that. It's almost like being an enemy of the ideal. Like, she's like the anti-hero, the archetype that represents everything that's bad in the Black community and Black society, right? Single motherhood in a sense, promiscuity, hating, backbiting, a lack of ability to collaborate with each other, jealousy. Like, she embodies all of those things. And we saw how her behavior and her attitudes and her energy had a negative impact on something that could have been so wonderful. Martell and Melody's marriage had issues before Arion came along. Everybody knows that. But I think that Arion gets so much hate because she is proud and happy to have destroyed something that was so valuable. Not just to the Holt family, but to the collective of Black society. Like, we rarely see examples of Black excellence in the way that the Holts represented on TV. And I talked about this before, as far as like how reality shows depict Black people as ignorant and ratchet and ghetto. And you have this beautiful young couple who was trying to model the perfect ideal Black unified marriage where the husband and wife are equal, beautiful young kids, and they're creating something of value to the community. And then someone comes along, and not only do they like smash it up, they were happy to do so, and they were bragging about it. It's like they felt empowered by their ability to destroy something that was so valuable to other people, not just to Melody Martell, but to the collective. And so that's why she's getting so much hate, and it's going to last for a while because she doesn't have an alternative to offer, right? It wasn't like Martell leveled up in a sense, and now Arion is somebody who could continue to execute the vision that Martell and Melody had planned for themselves and their children and their future. She did not fill the vacuum with something of equal or greater value. So now there's nothing but loss. This is an L for everybody. Yes, Melody is happier emotionally and psychologically, but Martell mentioned during the reunion they had a plan and they worked really well together. Everybody said this. So the fact that somebody came along and was like happy to destroy a plan that we rarely ever see in our communities, and it's 2 Black people at that, and a beautiful young couple at that, and Arion's like, aha, like it's sort of like putting salt on the wound. Arion's attitude and behavior throughout this whole situation has made people really despise her because of what I just said. It wasn't just about the affair. It was about what was lost as a result of that, and the person who was partially responsible is not even remorseful. Martell's remorseful because he lost it, right? It was his to lose. And so is Melody. So like 2 people are, no, not even 2 people. A whole family is suffering. It was broken apart by one person who's not even remorseful. They don't care. That's what makes it worse. Arion does not care about the role she played in destroying this relationship. Or if she does care, she's not showing it. And at this point, why not show it? At this point, why not express remorse, genuine remorse about what you did to this family? Why not do that? You know, I think that her life will be a little easier if she did that. I don't think she wants to do that because she genuinely hates Melody for being everything that she's not. Like, it's pure jealousy. And the jealousy has made her heart very black in this situation. So she may not be with Martell per se. She may be doing other things with other people. But this situation has made her feel, I think it reminded her of her place, like her station in life, in the sense of like the haves and the have-nots. Yes, you're cute, but you're not on that level, right? You're not a trophy. I remember Arion saying that Melody was mad that she was no longer the belle of the ball. The belle of what ball? That is something, that's a classist statement. Like, Melody thinks she's high class, but I came along and I knocked her off her high horse, right? But she's not that. She wants to be that, but she's not that to Martell. And so there's really a lot of bitterness and resentment about that, to the point where she's okay with destroying something of value to the Holts and the community that they're representing, in a sense, because she will never be a part of that community. This is the crabs in the barrel mentality I'm talking about. So yeah, and men and women do this, but she's really jealous of Melody, really jealous of her, and her jealousy is making it difficult for her to have any grace or empathy for Melody's situation. So that's why so many people can't stand her. And you know, I think she's acting like she doesn't care. I think it bothers her to an extent, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't bullying the girl, because I feel like the criticism of her is relentless, but then I realized that she still hasn't changed. So it's like, damn, like, it's like, you're gonna get beat up by the public for years? You're okay with that? Like, I didn't know she was still talking about Melody. Like, it's over now. Like, you know, but yeah, a lot of people hate her for what she represents, not just about what she did, because a lot of people cheat on their partners, right? Or they cheat with somebody else. We see what happened with Nicole Murphy and Andre Fuqua. That situation is over, right? That happened years ago. We're not talking about that anymore. But this situation is different because Arion has shown no remorse whatsoever for destroying something so valuable that we needed as a community to see. Not to say that Martell Melody were supposed to be like holding us or carrying us on their back, but that's kind of the responsibility they wanted. They said that they wanted to be an example for our community. That's the way they planned their lives. And as a matter of fact, when they started the show, they talked about wanting to be a good example for the community. That's what the comeback group was supposed to be about. So the fact that this happened, it was devastating to everybody but Arion. Yeah. So anyway, back to my original point. Are you a bad person if you cheat on your partner or your spouse? No, you're not. Not automatically. Do I think you should cheat? No. I think you should be upfront with your partner and say, I'm not happy right now. I need some time. I need a break or whatever. And then you go and do your thing. Doing it behind the person's back is wrong, right? It is wrong to cheat. I'm not saying it's right to cheat. I'm not trying to justify it at all. But I don't think you're a bad person if you make a mistake and you fall for somebody at your job or things happen. So I know a lot of you are not going to agree with me on this, and you'll probably say, well, you've never been married, so you don't know what it's like to be cheated on. I've been cheated on before, and I still didn't cheat back. I just left the relationship. Marriage is hard enough as it is, and a lot of people don't want to deal with the unnecessary complications of being with an unfaithful partner. Life is complicated enough as it is. You got kids, you got bills, you got illnesses, you got childhood trauma. Like, you know, you don't need any extra baggage. And I do agree. That's one of the reasons why I don't think that cheating is the way to go. But just because I don't agree with cheating doesn't mean that I don't understand why people do it. I understand why people do a lot of things, right? And it's good to seek understanding before you judge others, because you don't know what they're going through. I mean, somebody could cheat because their partner is sexually impotent because of some sort of childhood trauma or because of latent homosexuality. Like, there are so many reasons why people cheat. I'm not saying it's right, but We have to understand it before we judge and say, you're a bad person because you cheated. You don't know their situation. Do I ever see myself cheating on my partner? I don't see it happening because, first of all, I always say I don't like men enough to do all that. Like, one man is enough for me. Multiple men in my space, in my face, is too annoying and it's too much to juggle for me. But I had been attracted to other men when I was in relationships with my partner. That's normal human behavior. It is normal for you to be attracted to more than one person when you're dating or married. But you don't have to act on that attraction, right? That's where integrity comes in. That's where character comes in. And so, if you're willing to make a sacrifice for your partner to abstain from having sex with other people, it is understandable to expect the same courtesy from them. Like, if I'm sacrificing all these beautiful men to be with you, you can sacrifice all the beautiful and the women in the world to be with me, right? And that's how it's supposed to go. But like I said, sometimes temptation is difficult to resist. But I can look at somebody's natal chart and see that during this time period, you're going to have a hard time staying faithful to your partner, or you'll be bored in your relationship because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And that's what happened with Martell and Melody. Martell was going through a cycle where the planets were not in favor of him being faithful to his wife. These things happen, And again, I don't think that you should automatically leave your partner or your husband or your wife if they cheat, especially if they're willing to work things out and go to counseling with you and you've had some time put into your marriage. I don't think you should leave automatically, like if you're married. Now, if you're dating and there's nothing to lose, I'm like, why? I'm not doing that. So it's different when you're dating and when you're married. When you're married, there's a lot more at stake. You got kids and insurance and pensions and bills and houses. So there's more to lose. So you have to work a little bit harder to stay together, in my opinion. And unfortunately, sometimes spouses use that to their advantage. So if you have a spouse who's a bad person, they will use your loyalty to the institution of marriage, right? To their relationship. To the idea of the relationship, they'll use that against you to keep you tethered to something that's abusive to you. And we have to be careful with that too. If you're being psychologically abused or emotionally abused, I think that's more damaging than the infidelity, in my opinion. Like, if you're afraid to come home from work, or if you're afraid when your partner comes home because they're an alcoholic or they're abusive to you, to me, that's more damaging psychologically than somebody who's cheating and you don't even know about it, right? Not saying it's right, but sometimes it's saying it's true. What you don't know won't hurt you until the guy gets sloppy and then he has unprotected sex and gives a girl an STD, gets somebody pregnant. That's another conversation. But if he's being, careful what he's doing on the side, like with Tisha and Marceau, a lot of women will turn the other cheek and look the other way because they want to hold on to what they've built, which is what they value. Their home, their family, the security, their children, the commitment they made, the company, their friend. Like, a spouse is not just somebody you have sex with and somebody who's the father of your kids. This is a friend, your best friend. It's supposed to be your best friend, right? This is your life partner. Somebody who knows all of your dirty secrets. Somebody who knows your family, your friends. This is your family now. So it's hard to divorce somebody who means that much to you. And this is why I also have sympathy for women who stay married to men after they cheat. Doesn't mean I'll do it myself. Doesn't mean I agree with it. But I understand why women do it, which is why I said Tisha is entitled to stay with somebody who's cheating on her as long as he follows their agreement, right? So a lot of women are like that. I can't judge off of that alone. But if a man is blatantly disrespecting you to your face, that's different than him being more discreet with his infidelity, and you're weighing the pros and cons of staying with him and, leaving him alone. Melody had no choice but to leave Martell. Martell was way too disrespectful and too arrogant about it. And he made a baby. And to make matters worse, he allowed his mistress to disrespect the wife. That would have been the final straw for me. The first time Arionne came out of her face to talk to me some kind of way, like I did something to her or like I owe her something, the marriage would have been over for me. Because it means that my husband was talking to this lady in a way that made her feel like she was on my level. And now this is an emotional affair. It's not just sex anymore. I most definitely would have been done after that. Like, Melody was very patient with Martell. Very, 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 very patient with Martell. And Martell, he used that against her, like most narcissists do. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I hope I was clear. And I don't want you guys thinking that I'm condoning infidelity. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. But there are too many women and too many men who are unfaithful to their partners for me to say that they're bad people. They're making a bad decision. They're making bad choices. But they're not inherently bad people just because they are unfaithful to their partners a couple of times, right? And how often are you cheating? You do it one time? Was it twice? Is it the same person? Like, were you using protection? Like, all this stuff has to come into consideration when you're making that kind of judgment on a person. But it's not as simple as to say, well, yeah, they cheated, so it's over. What if somebody is a swinger? So what if somebody is sexually fluid? What if all this mess that people get into these days? I don't even want to think about it. It's too complicated for me. I try to keep my life as simple as possible. One person, that's it. Now, I did have a situation like back when I was in college, right? And I was dating a guy, and one of my classmates was gorgeous. I mean, he was gorgeous. Like, he was just really attractive. Dark skinned, the little muscles, glasses. What? He was gorgeous. And I was dating someone at the time, and we were in a long-term relationship. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't completely happy either. And even though he was attracted to me and I was attracted to him, it was very easy for me not to cheat because I didn't put myself in a situation where I would be tempted to do so. So we never hung out. We never exchanged phone numbers, email addresses. Like, we talked in class as classmates, but it never went beyond that because I did not want to disrespect my relationship with my partner by putting myself in a situation where I'd be tempted to do anything. And yeah, so I think most women and men have been attracted to people, not all, but most women have encountered men that they found attractive outside of their partner. And men, the same thing. Like, I don't have the unrealistic expectation that as soon as I date a guy, that no other woman exists in the world, and I'm the most attractive woman in the world after that. That's weird to me. That's unrealistic. I don't need my man to be blind to feel safe with him. Like, if you gotta gouge your man's eyes out so that other women aren't appealing to him, then to me that means you don't trust him, and you shouldn't be with him anyway. Like, I don't want to have to blindfold my boyfriend when we go out to lunch or to dinner so that he doesn't see other beautiful women. That's corny to me. That means that that's like Monique and Derek. Like, I'm going to date you while you're in jail because I'll have full control over you. Like, I can't control my man's eyes or his desires. But if he respects me and he values me and he's attracted to me enough, he will stay loyal to me. And that's the kind of relationship I prefer to have. Okay? I don't want a relationship where my man has to act like other women aren't attractive. Okay, so other men are attractive too. So what? Whatever you can do, I can do. Remember that, right? So if we're both respecting each other, and we both are honest with each other, we can say, yeah, that man's cute. He's attractive. He's hot. Whatever. Do I want to be with him? No. I value what we have here. I don't need to be blind to value what we have. And like I said yesterday, I can't hate on a woman for being fly. I can't hate on other women for being gorgeous. That's not their fault. That is not their fault. What am I supposed to do? Get mad at them because my man finds them attractive? That is not his fault either. The only thing that he's responsible for is how he acts on that attraction or that desire. Will he respect me and our relationship enough not to go there with that person? Or is he a hound dog that can't control himself? Or is the woman that magnetic and alluring that he can't control himself? I can't hate on the other woman for that. Now, once he does cheat, if he does cheat because she's so irresistible, I'm going to leave the relationship alone. Like, I'm not going to try to compete with somebody that can grab my man's attention to that extent. You need to go try things out with her. You need to go figure out what you want to do with her. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be looking over my shoulder, be paranoid because I can't trust you. Like, you're obviously not happy in the situation, so go be with the other person. It's as simple as that. If you're not married to the person, there's nothing to really argue or debate about. Okay? It's obvious that you're not happy with whatever we have going on here. You have to explore the options. You need to do that. That's okay. Nothing to get mad about. Don't hate on the other girl. Don't start, attacking the other girl. Whatever. Try to beat her up. That's unnecessary. Just move on and deal with that on your own time, and then open yourself up for newer and better opportunities. I will say this though, when a woman knows her worth enough to walk away, the men always try to come back later on, and that's very annoying to me. I'm ranting now, but it's annoying to me for a guy to disrespect you, right? And then you leave, and he's okay with that because now he can play with somebody else without any guilt. But then when that doesn't work out, he wants to get back with you. That is very disrespectful to me. If you are a male listening to this, it is not flattering for you to come back to the scene of the crime after the person you left your partner for doesn't work out. That's corny as hell. Please do not send texts and emails 6 months, a year later, 2 years later, talking about how much you miss the person that you cheated on that left because they had their dignity. Don't do that. Nobody cares about how you feel once the relationship is over. Like, once you make your decision, keep the same energy you had when you walked away from the relationship and you didn't look back until the other person didn't work out. That's an insult to me. That's disrespectful. Stay gone. That's all. And unfortunately, it's a pet peeve for men when women don't chase after them, when women don't cry over them. Now, I understand women pleading and crying when they're married. I get that because there's so much at stake and you don't want to lose that or let it go. But if you're just dating somebody and there's no real commitment, there's no real investment in anything, and nothing's popping like that, like, what? I wish I would cry over or cry after or chase after a man who disrespected me enough to cheat on me in the first place. That's not happening. Now, I'm not going to say you're a demon or a bad person, but I'm just not going to message you no more. I will completely cut you off like you never existed because you didn't respect me. That's all. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to your feedback. Happy February. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.